Hey guys, it's Pete from Pete for Anxiety here, the mental health podcast, breaking the stigma that mental health is talked about in. Welcome in today's episode. Before we get started today, we need to cover a few things really quick. Let's talk about the Pete for Anxiety Patreon first off. It's only $1, guys. $1. What does $1 get you? $1 gets you into the exclusive episodes I am recording currently. I'm actually focusing on certain different diagnoses of things to show you guys what it actually looks like as it manifests in a person. So why not for $1, judges? Yeah, they said $1. I just checked with them too. See, they said it was okay. It was $1 anyways. Let's also talk about the Oracle Talk Radio Networks app. In case you can't be here live listening to me, watching this video, supporting the show, you can listen to it on the radio app. Why not? It connects us live to our 365 radio. Just go to your app stores and download the Oracle Talk Radio Network. You'll see the big old Oracle Talk Radio Network app logo right on there. Download it and it'll connect you to me, 10 a.m. Central Standard Time, 3 p.m. Central Standard Time, to Pete for Anxiety when I'm live doing my thing right here, informing the world and raising mental health awareness. So where are you going to be? 10 a.m. Of course. Come on. We just talked about this. Pay attention for once. Damn. Do y'all know how to listen? And as always, guys, like, follow, and share the YouTube channel. If you guys like what you're seeing, leave some comments, man. We want to know. I want to know if you like what we're on. You want to be on the show? Let me know. Hit me up at PeteVersusAnxietyPod@gmail.com. And as always, guys, enjoy the show. And by the way, did I mention to like, share, and subscribe to the YouTube channel as well? Yeah, okay. I just want to make sure because some of y'all are hard of hearing in the back, may have to yell loud or get a megaphone or something. But, anyways, let's get today's show started. Y'all have a great one. Enjoy. Guys, welcome into another exciting episode of Pete versus Anxiety, the mental health podcast, breaking the stigma. The mental health is talked about enough. My guest today is a 3-time award-winning best-selling author with over a dozen published books, with the most notable being The Ultimate Path to Forgiveness, Unlocking Your Power. She's also a speaker, a forgiveness and transformation coach. Please welcome in Katharine Giovanni. How are you doing today?
Thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Well, I appreciate you being here so much. I was so glad when you reached out to come on the show. I was like, heck yeah. Katharine actually pointed out the fact that we have not talked about forgiveness. So that's why she's here today to talk to us.
That's true. Everybody, but the thing about forgiveness, Pete, is everybody tells you to forgive. Your pastor, your teacher, your parents. Nobody teaches you how.
Exactly.
How? And what if you don't want to? What if it's an unforgivable act? Then what do you do?
Yeah,
I teach the how.
That's true. That's very true. That's pretty true, though. I didn't think of it that way, though. What if you can't get forgiveness from somebody? How do you deal with that?
I have a system that's a step-by-step system that takes you straight through forgiveness so you can get the people out of your head.
Yeah. Do you have a name for the system?
Well, it's called the Forgiveness Matrix, probably because I'm a Matrix fan. But on a 10 scale, with 10 being an unforgivable dumpster fire, horrific thing.
Yeah.
And 1 being the easiest person in the world to forgive.
Yeah.
Every single person, and probably you included, my friend, are thinking of their number 10 person, the person who hurt you the most, that completely wrecked your world and took the wind out of your sails. That's fair.
Exactly.
So my system is designed to start from the easy ones. Because at the end of the day, that's why you don't want to forgive, because your knee-jerk reaction is to go to that most horrific thing.
Yeah, true.
Or the person who messed up your head the most, or the person you're mad at the most. But if you start at the other end of the spectrum, well, it's a little bit easier, isn't it?
That makes sense. Yeah, you're right, because that was the first thing I did think of. Number 10 right off the bat was just like, I went straight to that far into the scale. It was like, yep, ding, ding, ding. That's the person I'm thinking of.
Yep. And at the end of the day, the person who stole your parking space yesterday at the grocery store, you can forgive that person. Yeah. The person who stole your backpack back in grammar school, you can forgive that person. You're an adult now.
Yeah.
The person who cut you off on I-95 South, you can forgive them. Your football team that lost the Super Bowl. Okay, enough time has gone by now. I think you can forgive those people. Easy forgiveness people.
Right. Yeah, no, I get you. That makes sense, though. I mean, you started small, then work your way up to the bigger problems, and it just, yeah.
A few things about forgiveness that trips everybody up. First of all, just because I forgive you doesn't mean I want a relationship with you.
Exactly.
I probably don't, to be honest. And just because I forgive you, this trips up everybody. Just because I forgive you doesn't mean I'm all of a sudden giving in. It doesn't mean I'm giving you a pass and saying you were right and I'm wrong. That's not what it means. That's actually wrong. And I think it stems from our childhood when we're in the playground and somebody gives us a black eye and the teacher comes over and says, now forgive each other, children, and go off and play. And you're thinking, but they gave me a black eye. I don't want to forgive them.
Exactly.
But you're supposed to. So we connected some dots that should never have been connected. Forgiveness, the formal definition for me, means I want you out of my head. That's it. I want you out of my head. I want to stop thinking about you. I want to stop dreaming about you. I'm not going to reach out and call you because in my world, forgiveness is selfish. You do it for you all alone in a room. You don't have to reach out and call anybody. You don't have to tell anybody you're doing this. That being said, since I'm not calling anybody, you can forgive dead people too, because where they are or are not doesn't matter a lick, because if they're alive and well in your head, it can be forgiven.
Exactly. I love that though. That makes perfect sense. So, because I feel the same way. Number 9 on that list of people there is right there with the one of those, like, I'm not calling you because I know with this conversation isn't going to get anywhere. It's pointless.
Yeah.
And you hit it right on the head. It's like, I'm not calling you, and it's like, it's scary because number 9 is actually my mother, who abandoned me when I was 10 years old. And, it's crazy because that's the person that you're first is supposed to love you for your mom. As we're supposed to be told and programmed as kids to understand, oh, that's your mom. And that's your mom. Yeah. Okay. My mom, maybe my mom, but my mom did what she did. And now it's like, she does, she won't take accept blame for it at all. And that's when it comes to forgiveness. It's like, how do you forgive yourself or forgive that person and not get forgiveness back? You know what I mean? And that's just one of those things you're going to have to eventually deal with anyways, because I know that I'm not calling her to get the forgiveness because I know that conversation is going to go nowhere. It's going to be, oh, well, no, you're just making these things up in your head and they're not real. And then it'll just turn into the whole situation of just, oh, you're the crazy one, or you're gaslit to think that you're the one that's the problem when they're the ones that did this thing, in the beginning of this whole thing, and it caused all these problems all these years. And, that one small thing caused a lot of problems, caused that ripple effect just straight through your life and things like that too. So
I can teach you how to forgive the unforgivable right in this podcast.
Let's do it. I say let's go for it right now. I'm ready.
All right. There are worksheets and all that kind of stuff in the book, of course, but not everybody likes to read or listen to an audio book. So here's pretty much the system. First of all, what everybody kind of doesn't understand is there's a secret that everybody's missed. Mm-hmm. So on that 10 scale, with 10 being unforgivable, the reason I tell people you don't have to forgive the unforgivable, stay with me, is because there's a lot of people, places, and things that you can forgive before you get there. I did say places and things. Mm-hmm. Don't click off yet.
No, you're good.
The secret, places and things, which I'm going to explain in a minute, but it's also one of the secrets is energy. Yeah. Einstein clearly proved that energy is neither created nor destroyed. It just transforms from one thing to another. So when you get angry, you think it leaves your mouth and dissipates into the universe. In fact, you probably don't even think about where it goes at all. Yeah. But it doesn't. It hangs in your energy field until you clear it. Science has also taught us that everything on our planet has an energy field around it, including this little silver microphone, which is an inanimate object. So the reason people come to me and they say, Katharine, I have forgiven them, but I keep getting triggered. They don't stay forgiven because I talk to them and I go back down the rabbit hole and I'm angry again. What do I do? You didn't forgive the energy.
Yeah.
See, the mantra that I say is I completely forgive Pete. I completely forgive the energy around Pete. I completely forgive myself. I forgive the energy around myself. I forgive the energy around the entire situation. And so it is, go with God, whatever. That's the mantra. It's nothing special. You don't have to hold crystals unless you want to. You don't have to burn any incense unless that's really what your deal is. Go for it. You don't have to reach out and call these people. You do it in the privacy of your own home. So what I want you guys to do is I want you to sit down with a pen and a paper. I did say pen and paper. I did. There's studies done. There was this very famous study done at Harvard University years ago. When I was in my 20s and 30s, I read about this study because I'm as old as dirt. And they took some kids and half the class was told to say their goals out loud to the room. The other half was told to write them down on a pad. The kids who wrote them down on a piece of paper were twice as successful as the kids who didn't, because they followed the kids through the years. So magic happens when it goes from your head all the way down your arm and you're writing it down on a piece of paper. Things stick more. They come sticking, right? So I want you to think of all the people you need to forgive. Okay. And I know those unforgivables, the people, those really ones that hurt you, they're going to be the top 3, the first names that you write down. That's fair. Keep going. Think of what happened yesterday. Think of what you did as a child. Write names down from the time you were a kid to present day. And don't judge any of the names. If you write down the name Billy and you don't remember a Billy, don't judge it. Keep it there. You'll label it a number 1, of course, but keep it there, because it's some part of your body is probably angry at the kid, whoever he was. Yeah. Then once you've written down all your names, I want you to rate them from 1 to 10. 10 being awful, 1 being easy, right? Your mother would probably be a 10.
Yeah, she's right there.
Then I don't care if you have 20 number 7s. I really don't care. Yeah. I don't care if you skip a number. It's all the same to me. What I do care desperately about is that when you do this practice, you do it before you go to bed, because your body heals itself when it sleeps, and you start with the easy ones. And I want you to take that first name in the list and put your hand on your heart, because it reminds you to say the words from your heart. Okay. And then if Billy was a kid you went to high school with, I want you to imagine Billy is standing in front of you. The kid you knew in high school, not the adult. I want the kid there that you had that fight with. Okay. And then if you need closure, say whatever you like. Yeah. You're alone in a room. And I do want you, here's the hard part. I want your cell phone off. I know some of you are visibly twitching at this point because you don't want to turn your cell phone off, but there's a magic button there. It's called an off button. And if you can't turn it off, there's a mute button. Don't vibrate, because the minute it vibrates, you're going to turn and look at it. I just want you alone. Small humans need to be out of the room. Dogs, cats, they're fine. But I want you alone. Yeah. And say anything you want to Billy. Yell at him, scream, express love. I don't care what you do. And then once you're finished, I want you to say my mantra, and then I want you to check in with your body. Are you still angry? Is it still a 1, or did it go to a 0? Great. Cross it off the list. Go to the next person. Were you trying to forgive somebody you labeled a 4? You're still mad? It's a 3 now. You're better, but you're still mad. Okay, put the new number next to their name. Wait 24 hours. Do it again. Here's something that happened to a friend of mine. Was it a number 4? You check in with your body. It's now a 10. What the hell happened? That's what I'm wondering. What happened? What happened? Well, your body is a marvelous, beautiful tool, and it protects you like an overprotective best friend. And there's a closet in the back of your head that's been padlocked for a very long time, and there's a movie playing in it. And it's been playing, and you don't know it's been playing. It's been affecting your life, but you turn it off if you knew it was there, but you didn't know it was there. And what your brain said, forgiveness is like an onion, and you just forgave the first layer. And now it's going, ooh, Pete just said the magic words, that magic words. It's going to open up this closet, and your brain's going to open up that closet and flood you with memories that you had completely forgotten. So now you just put the new number, you put a 9 or a 10 next to the name, you wait 24 hours, and you try again. Yeah. This is a marathon, not a sprint. This is going to take a minute. And forgiving the unforgivable, well, that's fun, but I can get you there. Yeah. And and I get that too. And I don't like when people say, oh, well, I have the instant cure for this. No, you don't. You don't have the instant cure. Like you said, it's not it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. We're not, trying to get there fast. You want to make sure you actually get somewhere. And I like the way that you just keep going. You keep going. It's like spiral. And it's also, you're not going to forget. There's this horrible saying that everybody bandies out. Well, you forgive and you forget. I live in the South now in North Carolina, but I was raised in New York City, and I can guarantee 100% of us will never forget. It's not what we do. It's not in our DNA. We don't forget. But what I can promise you is neutrality. If by going through my system, you're going to be able to look at that person at a party or see their name on a piece of paper, and you won't care. It will remove the emotional charge. So you're not going to care good. You're not going to care bad. You just won't care. And that's freedom. That's what I'm going for. I come from a pretty rough background. My parents were alcoholics. I was bullied in school, and I tried to commit suicide in the 8th grade. So I have I have looked at my childhood and I have forgiven the pieces back there. So now I can look back at my childhood and I could probably regurgitate all those horrible, horrible things that happened to me if you really wanted me to. But I don't really remember them anymore. It's not that I've forgotten, but I look at my childhood with a different perspective. I can see the love that was trying to come through back then. I could see the adults that were trying to help that kid. So now I can remember the good things. So have I forgotten? No, I just have a different perspective because I replaced the hate with love.
Yeah, I agree. That makes sense. And when you said energy too, by the way, that resonated real well with me because I had met an energy alchemist a couple weeks ago, and ever since then, a lot of things started making sense. Like I have a
Yeah.
hypersensitivity energy. I can sense it on people. Like when I'm close enough to some people, I can sense like if they're not good or there's something that I don't like about them that's off. That
You're an
it tells me,
empath.
hey, warning signs that something's going on, And it was interesting to learn that because I was like, I've always wondered that because I was like, I always have these weird feelings when someone gets close and I called it a spider sense, because I'm a super nerd. So I was like, it's like my spider sense, man. Like, Spider-Man sense always went off when danger was close by or something wasn't right, and things like that. I was like, I don't like you. I don't know
I'm
why, but I can't tell you why.
I'm a nerd too. I call it my spider sense too. But you're an empath. Google it. You are 100% an empath, and empaths feel energy, and you can walk into a room and it feels off. You can shake somebody's hand and you intuitively know it's not right.
Yeah,
It's not right. And then maybe you ignore what your empathic sense is telling you. So you hire the person anyways because they've got a great resume, they look good, they sound good, they've got the references, and 3 months down the line, everything blows up and you say to yourself, I knew I shouldn't have hired that person. We've all done that. You're an empath.
yep,
That's how
yep,
you hear your intuition.
yeah. That's true. That does work in a lot of
That's a
scenarios,
whole nother rabbit hole we could go down.
right?
But
Yeah,
when
but
it
yeah,
comes
you're
to
right.
forgiving, I kind of want to talk about how to forgive your mom.
Definitely, let's do it.
So I had the same problem, and I had to forgive my father.
Yeah.
And when I said my father was I had more than one number 10. Everybody does, but we'll just take dad because it's a good example. And he's passed away. So this is me forgiving dead people.
There you go.
So I really didn't want to forgive my father because I was mad. And to be really honest, I didn't even want to forgive the energy around the guy. I didn't. I didn't want any part of it. So I picked apart the memory. Everything in our world has an energy field. So let's say you're driving down the road and to go to work, you need to make a left. But today, for some reason, you decide that spidey sense kicked in. You
Hmm.
decided to make a right. It still got you to the same location, but you just the long way. It was a beautiful day. And as you're driving, you see your old high school kind of out of the corner of your eye because it took you right by the high school. And by the time you get to work, you're grumpy. But there's no reason you should be grumpy. You had a good night's sleep. It's a 75-degree day. It's beautiful outside. And you had a wonderful morning playing with your dog. So why are you grumpy? And you're biting everybody's heads off and you're having a bad day. What happened? Well, your brain saw the school and it clicked that movie in your head
Yeah.
and the movie started to run. And you unconsciously started to remember the bullies that bullied you in the playground. So how are you gonna get rid of that memory? Well, I want you to pick apart the memory. So if you're not ready to forgive the bully or my father in the example, pick apart the memory.
Yeah.
I forgive the school itself and the energy around the school. I'm actually not kidding. Forgive the desk that you sat at and the chair that you sat at and the energy around those items. Forgive the playground. Forgive the grass. Forgive the dirt. Forgive the swing. Forgive the kids who stood around and didn't help you. And forgive the energy around these things. So now your number 10 memory is probably down to a 9. I still haven't forgiven the bully. Did the same thing for my father. I wasn't ready to forgive him. So I had a lot of memories with my dad. So I picked one random night. He used to get drunk and he used to love to keep us at the dining room table and lecture us. And I was a kid. It was probably not hours, but it felt like hours.
You're right.
And so I wasn't ready to forgive Dad, but I forgave the table, the energy around the table. I forgave the chair I was sitting in. I forgave my brother for not sticking up for me. I forgave my mom who just sat there. I forgave my childhood home, my childhood bed, the kitchen. I forgave New York City because that's where I grew up. So you pick apart the memory. And I got that number 10 down to a 9. I still haven't forgiven Dad, but I got it down to a 9. It's like, okay, am I ready to forgive just the energy yet? And I was. Still haven't forgiven Dad. Couldn't forgive him until I got it down to a 7 or an 8. Then I was kind of ready to make my first pass. It didn't stick, but I made my first pass. I kind of chipped away at it because forgiveness is like an onion, and there's layers to this stupid onion. And you would just have to go through the layers. This is a marathon. It's also called shadow work. But eventually you can get it down. Now, what if this was a traumatic event like a rape or a murder or something really, really horrific? You may never be able to forgive the actual person, and that's completely fine. It's completely fair. There are unforgivable things in this world that are completely unforgivable that I would never forgive. But there's other things in the memory that you can forgive to release the pain. You could pull apart the memory, and you could forgive yourself and the energy around yourself. And that should be just enough to help you move forward with your life. Forgive what you can and keep going.
Yeah, that makes sense. So, I mean, just do it little by little, start dissecting it, and just kind of like you said, peel back the proverbial onion as you go, and you just start forgiving like the whole situation,
Right.
Like, and it makes sense, and just by you saying that, I'm already down. She's down to about an 8 now because I'm just thinking, because I'm just thinking forgiveness for all these other things that you're just listing. I'm like, she's right. Forgive for these things, forgive for that things, and it's because like it's caused so many problems, but it's like now it's time to just get past this and not let it own me like it has before, so
well, Pete, things called objects hold triggers. We downsized. We moved from right outside of Raleigh over to the coast, and I wanted to downsize the house. So I was selling a bunch of stuff, and I had that dining room table. I inherited it from my mom. And so I went to my adult sons and I said, do either of you want this table and chairs? And my older son looked at me and he said, no. And I smiled and I said, why not? It's a perfectly decent table. He's like, Mom, that's the homework table. I wouldn't have that in my house if you paid me. Because it had a trigger. He remembered doing homework there.
Yep.
Objects have triggers, and sometimes throwing your triggers out works, and sometimes it doesn't. You still have that energetic attachment to that object. So everything is forgivable. I used to have a client who used to cry in the shower because she hated her job so much. So I told her to forgive the shower. I'm not kidding.
Yeah, that makes sense.
If something is triggering you, it's forgivable. You can forgive anything. You can forgive places you've lived, cities where you've lived, business partners. You don't have to just forgive people. It can be people, places, and things.
Yeah.
You can forgive politicians, dare I say. Won't go there. You can forgive the war in the Middle East. What's it going to do for the war in the Middle East? Absolutely nothing. But it's going to do brilliant things for you. Now, why am I saying this? Anger is toxic. Everybody bandies that one around too. It annoys me because nobody knows how. I love the how. How? Don't tell me it's toxic without giving me some hard how. Well, it causes stress. Well, how does that work? Okay, well, I can answer that question because I found the answer. If you Google the Japanese water study, it'll come right up. And it was done by a guy named, I want to say Hashimoto something. I always get his name wrong. But in the interest of time, I'll say it really quite fast. What the guy did, and they tried to replicate this study for years, and everybody keeps coming up with the same thing. He took 2 containers of water. One container of water, all he did was talk to it. That's it. And he spoke these loving words to it. The other container of water, hate. The most hateful words that he could think of. He spewed hate at this container of water. Then he froze the water and he put it under a microscope. The water he spoke love to had these beautiful crystal formations. They're right online. They're fascinating. And the water he spoke hate to had black and brown sickly malformations. Why am I telling you this? The human body is over 95% water. So when your self-talk is bad, when you're filled with hate, and self-loathing and anger, and you're holding a grudge and resentment, what do you think you're doing to the water cells within your own body?
Just that.
You're literally making yourself sick.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, that makes sense. And by the way, it's Dr. Emoto is his last name. I looked it up
Oh,
really
thank
quick.
you.
In the
I
book
never get that right.
and it says he also could he has recognition for his book, The Hidden Messages in the Water, which is basically what his findings were from the water consciousness, which is I think it's very interesting. I'm gonna have to check that out for sure.
Yep. And so many studies since then have been trying to replicate it. They did the same thing with plants in the United Arab Emirates on anti-bullying day. And they did the same thing. 2 sets of plants, one same living conditions, same water, sunlight. And the kids were told to say loving things to one and hateful things to the other. The plant that they said hateful things almost died.
Yeah,
I have a plant downstairs I talk to, and we call him Grandpa. And Grandpa, believe it or not, is 31 years old.
Well, you know,
I'm going to cry when that one finally dies. I swear I'm going to cry and mourn when that plant goes finally.
Well, you know, that makes sense because remember how you said Einstein said everything has energy around it. So think about it. You're throwing your negative energy at the one plant, and then nothing at the other one. You're not doing the same thing. So that's why the other plant is reacting the way it is. And you know, and it makes sense though. And I you know, like I said, now that I've done a little more studies and people have met with it, the energy thing makes more sense to me though. It's like you think about it though, it's like people look at you like you're crazy when you talk about it, but I understand it. It makes perfect sense to me, and it resonates with me real well now that I know more about myself and the things I start learning. You know, and it's crazy because you know, had you told me it's like 20 years ago, I've been like looking at you like, yeah, okay, whatever, you know, yeah, okay. You know what I mean? But now it's like, oh yeah, that makes perfect sense to me, you know. And then the crystal things, and you know, all the different formulations of what everybody wants them to be. You know, everybody believes you know crystals have the energy around the two, like everything does, like Einstein said. You know, and it makes sense though because you know, and a lot of it makes sense now that I'm learning more as I go, and stuff just starts falling into place, and it's so great because then I start having these realizations like, oh, that's why I have these feelings, or why I feel this, or why I feel that. And it's great because you start to learn new things. And that's a great thing with this podcast is like, since I started from the beginning to now, the wealth of knowledge I've learned just from different people I meet is just so great because now I can share that with other people. I'm like, hey, listen, have you tried this before? You know, and then other people are like, oh no, you know, and I explained to them what it is a little bit. Hey, this is what it was. This is where I got it from my site sources of people I've met, and you know, I got somebody to check out, you know, and things like that. And I did that recently with somebody too. Somebody was asking about what is it? Something with mushrooms, you know, it's like somebody does like all those kind of things, something like using them for like the medication levels to certain. I said, well, hey, I got a person I just met, you know, got to check this out. Here's a website. Go check out all the information's on there. You know, if that's something you're interested in, you know, want to give it a shot, reach out. They can help you with these things. They'll help you figure out exactly what works for you. And things like that, you know. So I love it though. I love learning new things like this, and it's great because it resonates with me at the same time as well. So I'm even more excited because now it's something I'm really into.
Well, remember, just because we'll use your mother as an example, just because she's still alive, I take it.
Yes, ma'am.
Just because you're going to forgive your mother doesn't necessarily mean you want to make amends or have a relationship with her.
Exactly.
There's boundaries in place for a reason. You can keep those boundaries in place. You don't even have to tell her she's done it. You know, if the person you're mad at, not your mother, but whoever you're forgiving, needs to make amends of some kind, they're still going to have to do that. You're not giving them a pass. You're not saying, okay, I'm giving in. Forgiveness isn't weak. It's a sign of strength. You're doing it for you because you're the prisoner. Buddha says the most brilliant quote, and he says, anger is like drinking poison and hoping the other person dies.
That's actually pretty good. Actually, it makes sense.
I love that quote. And this is the first book of 3. I just finished the first draft of book 2, and book 2 is about how to forgive yourself, a deep dive into how to forgive the unforgivable and how to forgive money.
That's interesting too. Forgiving money is an actually interesting concept, honestly, because
money is energy, is it not?
Exactly. That's exactly where I was getting at. You see, you followed me on that one. So what is book 3 about? Do we know yet? Or is that just kind of still under work a little bit? Or we cannot?
I know what it is, but it's going to stretch everybody's brain to the point it's probably going to make people bleed. So I'm purposely, it's kind of going into quantum forgiveness, and it's taking this forgiveness step like 30 steps forward. And it's the ultimate of intergenerational trauma healing. And that's why I'm leaving it for last.
Oh no, I get that completely. Makes sense. And that sounds like we may have to have you come back when that third book comes out and talk about that one, because I'm very curious now to know what that one's. But I love it though when people publish books and stuff, because I actually finished reading a breast cancer memoir, and remember your profile says that in there too.
Yep.
I actually read this memoir by Erica Newbert. Is called the mastectomy I've always wanted. Okay, so she had a double mastectomy. And what she did is she gave it a face, and it was so powerful to me, because it's like, it doesn't apply to me 100%, but then it also gives you the perspective of what she was going through and, her thought process of things. And then when you get to the second half of the book, that's when the real stuff starts happening, is because you start seeing these pictures, and she starts showing these pictures of the whole procedure afterwards, all the aftermath and everything else. And it's so powerful because it's like, this woman's showing everything to you. Like she's bearing it all to show you and give it a face, which is amazing, because nobody else knows what it looks like until now. Now it has something you can look into and go, okay, that's what it looks like. Even though it looks like Frankenstein or a Saw movie had sewed the poor woman back together, the doctor constantly kept telling her, hey, no, listen, it looks good. It looks good. And she's like, where's the goodness? I look like Frankenstein at this point.
I do too. I had a double mastectomy myself, but here's the thing about my forgiveness system. I forgave breast cancer.
Yeah.
And I forgave the energy around breast cancer. That was my mantra. I completely forgive breast cancer. I forgive the energy around breast cancer. I forgave the chemo chair, the infusion chair. I forgave the 10 operations. I forgave radiation. I forgave every aspect of it. People, places, things, the building where I had to have it done, the hospital where I had the operations. And I can't tell you how liberating that was for me. And now I'm not cancer girl anymore, because I don't spend my life thinking about it anymore.
Yeah, no, and I get that. That makes sense though. I mean, I just thought it was interesting when I read that, and I was like, wait, I just read a book about this kind of stuff. And it was just like, man, okay, this is kind of interesting, because now I know something about this, and it's great, because I had an aunt who had the same thing too. She'd gone through breast cancer herself, done the chemotherapy.
She's not going to open up her chest and say, see, this is what it looks like. See, by having somebody actually open up the back door and say, come on in, if you really want to know what it's like, come on in, is brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
I thought it was amazing myself. And I'm a male speaking, about this thing. And I read this book, and I told people I was reading this book, and you should have seen the looks I got from people. What are you reading? What is it called? I'm like, yeah, this is what it is. Here, let me show it to you. And I show it to them, and they're like, what? I'm like, oh, listen. I'm like, don't even start judging a book by its cover, as they say. You got to read this thing. This thing is powerfully great. And the great thing was that I liked the poems. So what came out was that Erica said that these were actual ones that were from her own personal diary that she had done. And I was like, man, maybe that's why I enjoyed them so much, because you could just feel the fact that you could feel the emotion coming off it alone. As soon as you start reading these, you're like, man, these are really good.
You're an empath. You feel more emotion than most people do. It's your superpower. It's your spidey sense. Most people can't do that. I'm an empath too, which is why I recognize it.
As I was reading that book, I was feeling it, dude. I could just feel the energy, man. And it was great. Oh, it was amazing, though. And it was great. And now I'm reading another one, which falls a little bit to where my number 10 is at. My ex was a narcissist, and it was like, it lines exactly up there. And I could feel exactly what this person is doing. And she was actually on the show. The author of the book was actually on the show, too. And we were talking about it, and I was like, man, are you reading my mind? Because I'm feeling exactly what you're saying right now. And the funny thing is when I got the book sent to me from her, she lived about 30 minutes away from right in the same area I was. So it's like, wow, what a coincidence that you're dealing with the same thing I was dealing in the same area I was in and everything else. And it's just crazy, because it's like the universe put us in the same path together. And the fact that, I'm empath, I could feel it. Like I could feel that, because I'm like, I went through it too. So I could totally relate to her in that subject.
There's no such thing as coincidence.
I'm starting to realize that too as I go, and it's just like, I feel like everybody meets everybody for a reason. Everybody's put everybody's path for a reason. And it starts making sense little by little too.
I don't believe in failure either. And because I feel that you either win or you learn. That's true. It. I do try and not learn the same things twice. There is that. Right. Try and learn the lesson only the one time.
Yeah.
But we're only human after all.
Exactly. That's very true. I like that point, though. And and I love when you said sports fans losing the Super Bowl. I was like, oh, Catherine, that hurt a little bit because I'm a Kansas City Chiefs fan. We lost, and it was
Oh, it
just like
hurts. It's a gut punch.
it hurt. It hurt a little bit, and then because I was doing a lot of bantering for them, cheering my team on.
So maybe they're not a level 1, maybe they're a 5. But here's a visual for people if you want to know really why you want to forgive. Here's a really good visual image. And if you're listening to this broadcast, I'm going to talk you through it anyways.
Definitely.
I'm holding a purple coffee cup to the side of my body using one hand. And this cup represents anger, hatred, bitterness, resentment. But look at my body language. You and I can have an easy conversation. I can handle my anger. It's easy. I can manage it. It's not a problem. It's not a problem. Not very heavy. When you first get angry, you can hold it off to the side easily. But if I don't take things out of the cup, so I don't start forgiving things, humans irritate other humans, don't we? So and families will really mess you up. So I'm going to still put things into the cup. So now I'm using 2 hands to hold on to the cup. My life hasn't stopped yet because I can still hold it off to the side, but it's getting painful and it's starting to creep into my conversations. If I continue to hold on the cup and I don't let anything out, and all those water cells are turning wonderful blacks and browns, now I'm holding the cup in front of my body. My life has stopped. It's permeated every conversation I have. I'm dreaming about it. I'm talking about it. I'm spinning the stories funny, but I'm still saying it. And I'm missing opportunities. My dream career just walked by and I didn't notice it. Why? Because I'm too focused on the anger. So by forgiving the people you label a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, a 5, now look at my body language. It's gone from in front of my face. Now it's back off to the side. Now my life is opened up again. Coffee's smelling better. I'm noticing things. I'm noticing, a new dream relationship or a new home that I want to go to. And if you keep on doing it, eventually you'll be able to put the cup down. And now look at now I can go anywhere I want. I'm like a thoroughbred who's finally been allowed to run their race.
Right, exactly. And then you're not so focused on it too. And like you said, when you see that person, you hear that person's name, they don't have any power over you because at that point now you've taken away their chance for their power to be used against you. So
you do it for you. You do it because you want to put down the darn, little glass of anger. You're not doing it for them. So what happens when you see them at a party? Let's tell that story. I use the example Aunt Martha because I don't have an Aunt Martha. So it's a really safe name to use. And if you have an Aunt Martha, well, I apologize. Just substitute another name, especially if you like your Aunt Martha.
Right.
So my mother used to say every family's the same, only the names are different. And I don't think she was wrong. She died 30 years ago. So let's say you have an Aunt Martha. Aunt Martha drinks like a fish. She's a raging alcoholic. She also smokes, usually right in your face. And she smells because she doesn't shower very much. And she has a mouth on her and she loves to push your buttons. And she thrives on hate. She thrives on watching you squirm. And for some reason, you always sit next to her at Thanksgiving. And you've asked your parents not to put you next to the woman. But for some reason, she's always within earshot and she knows where you are and she'll zing it every time. And you don't want to go to Thanksgiving because she'll be there. And then when you leave, it takes you a week to unpack it and come back down and be yourself again. So what do? Well, I want you to pick about 3 memories, 3 Thanksgivings with Aunt Martha, the ones where she was really the most hateful and the most drunk. And I want you to pull apart the memories. Forgive the table where we sat. Forgive the chair she sat in. Forgive the chair you sat in. You don't have to forgive Aunt Martha yet. We're just forgiving the things. Forgive the house that you were, the turkey in the middle of the table. Pick apart the memory. The people who just stood or sat around and just watched the show because it happens every year. And then maybe try and make a pass at Aunt Martha. And then wait 24 hours and try it again. So by the time you get to Thanksgiving, what's going to happen? My Aunt Martha is still going to be Aunt Martha. She's not going to change, but you did. So her words are going to be like water running off a duck's back. You're not going to care. You're literally not going to care. And you probably will laugh because when you go, you're going to expect it. And even if she says those zings that used to bother you, doesn't bother you anymore. You're almost like, oh, bring it, make your best shot. You don't care.
Yeah.
And that's the brilliance behind it. But some of the stuff that's going to start forgiving is not, it's not, there's another side of the coin. Like energy attracts like energy. So Jim Rohn said, he's a very famous motivational speaker, said you're the sum of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So who are you spending your time with? So when you do this process, you're going to attract people into your life that think the same way. They're on a positive path. They're forward motion. They're getting better with their lives. And you want these people. These are the people you want to spend time with, people that are better and smarter than you. But on the other side of the coin, you're going to have people you've been running with for a long time. They're going to ghost you and leave your life. They're jackrabbits. Why? Because you're scaring the crap out of them. You're starting to change, and they liked the old you. So instead of hanging with you, they're just going to leave. Happened to me with some very close friends of mine I still haven't heard from. Then you have the saboteurs, usually family, usually people you live with. They like the old you. They like the broken you. They like the angry you. They don't want you to change. So they're going to try and sabotage it. So it's up to you. Who do you want to spend your time with? At the end of the day, that's your choice, because you're going to start to change. You're going to start to feel better. And people are going to notice, like, Pete, you're doing something different. Did you lose some weight, or did you get some? What are you doing different? You just look so good today. Well, of course you do. Your energy has changed. And you can either tell them what you're doing or not. Let it be a mystery. Completely up to you.
No, I like that, though. You say that, that you attract people like-minded, because that instantly triggered a thought for me, is that since I've been doing this journey, I've attracted a lot of people, in fact, that all have the same thing. And it was by random I met some of these people too. They just came in and we just started clicking, and we still talk to this day. And we all have the same like-minded things too. And you just start bouncing ideas off people. And then you see these people fade off. And I always tell people, well, guess like they shouldn't have been in your life. Then that just means they weren't important enough to stay there. It's not, don't let that worry you. Focus on the people that are still here with you, that are sticking by your side, that you're hanging out with, just like you just said. Everybody that's still around you. And then you'll get those saboteurs that come in, because that's their thing. They like that kind of stuff.
What they do. My father was like that. But it's called vibrational energy, and you're vibrating at a different rate than the people that you used to run with. Mm-hmm. And what that's doing, it makes them uncomfortable. That's why bullies bully, because you're vibrating not higher, not lower, just different. And if they don't understand it, they're going to try and stop it. So that's why people do that. That's why couples eventually get divorced, because they start to vibrate and do different things, and they become different people. So the energy shifts. I have a very funny story. Years ago, when I finally figured out vibrational energy, a group of friends of mine, we were in like a bed and breakfast kind of place for lunch. And the waitress came over. She took everybody's order. And then she came around to me. She walked to the other side of the table and just kind of lifted her chin like that. And I'm a customer service trainer. I used to train concierge. I did it for 25 years. So my concierge training kicked in virtually immediately, because I thought, well, that's kind of rude, but I ignored it. And then she ran back to the kitchen, ran full sprint. Again, I thought that was a little off. Didn't think twice about it. Thought, well, maybe there's something. The place was not full to require a sprint. So a few minutes went by and she brought our food. She politely, again, put everybody's plate in front of their food, in front of their place, until she got to me. Again, she went to the other side of the table and she threw my plate at me like it was a Frisbee. And it landed in front of me, and the food danced around on my plate. And then she sprinted back to the kitchen. I fully expected her to come out and sprinkle me with holy water or something. I didn't know what was going on. And a friend of mine who's really intuitive leaned over and said, she's scared of your energy.
That makes
My
sense.
energy was so different that it freaked her out. So I was very tempted to just say boo to her when she came back. I did not, because I'm a concierge, but I was really tempted to say that.
Oh my God. So I would have laughed if you would have said you went boo at her. I would have been like dying. I probably would have fallen out of the chair I'm sitting in laughing. So I'd be like, that's great.
So tempted.
Your story, though, makes me think of a situation too. Okay. So I was on TikTok and I went in this room with this person, and this young individual I met. I said something to him and he just started freaking out for no reason, which now it makes sense. And I haven't seen him. We haven't seen him since then. He hasn't been back in the same area I was at all. He'd come in, but he started acting like real standoffish all of a sudden. And all I did was just ask him a question. That was it. And it's what it was, because he instantly went into a fear mode, and you could see it because he instantly just started freaking out when I had said something. Everybody else was talking to him, no problem. But when Pete said something to him, he stops and he goes, oh no, and then he just started acting completely weird, and it makes perfect sense now. Because I was like, what the hell happened? Like, what? And nobody could figure it out, because everybody could see him start freaking out completely, just like your friend leaned over and told you, hey, listen, yeah, that's what he's scared of. And it had to be that, because there's no other way to explain what he did, because all of a sudden he just clicked. All of a sudden just started going like, just kind of like that waitress did to you, was just acting real strange. And he's
this is going to happen to you more and more. It's happened to me many times in my life. I have more than one story just like that one. So one time I was in the grocery store and the aisle was empty when I went in, and full when I left, because like energy attracts like energy. So for as many people as I scare away, I also attract them, which can be very irritating depending upon where you are.
Right.
And then you've got the people. I remember years ago, I really am as old as dirt, and it was the 19th, never mind what year it was. And I was working in New York City, and this brand new employee came in and she shook my hand. I didn't even say anything to her. And this was when I was a kid. I was in my 20s. I hadn't figured out this stuff yet. Yeah. And she took a step back and she dropped my hand like it was a hot potato. And then she tried to sabotage my job and get me fired for the next year. And then she left the company. Everybody was very relieved, to be honest with you. And her name, and you can laugh if you want, but I'm not making it up. Her name was actually Karen. And she was behaving just like any Karen you've ever met in your life. Her name really was Karen.
That's awesome.
And it wasn't until years later when I figured out it was my energy that she was scared of. It was nothing I said, because I hadn't said a word to her. But this happens to everybody. And, when somebody does that to you, please don't take it personally. Or at least try and not take it personally, because the first time it happens, you take it personally and you say, do I smell? You see, you look down, is my fly open? Do I have food on my shirt? I mean, you kind of look around and stuff like that, but you don't. It's your energy. And eventually you get used to it.
And it's happened again recently too, because there's a young gentleman that came to work with us. He came in one night, and the next night he didn't come in after that. So I'm like, it
was your energy, scared of it.
And like I said, I didn't do anything weird. I didn't do anything rude to him. I just basically gave him the rundown of how things work. I was very polite, very firm about what I wanted and things like that. And it was just like next day gone. And people were like, what did you say to him? That's the funny thing. I didn't say anything to him. That was the running joke for a bit. Well, what did you say to him, Pete? Honestly, nothing. I didn't say anything to him.
You exist. That was the problem.
Exactly. He got too close, and he felt that energy, didn't like it, and it was like, oh yeah, and it's like, I have the sense that you can tell usually when you meet people if they're gonna last, and like, I'm not doing a hard job. Like, I'm literally telling my boss, hey, this person isn't gonna work out, and lo and behold, again, Pete's right. This person doesn't work out. I'm like, I'm telling you, within the first like 24 hours of being around some of these people, you can tell if whether or not they're gonna last and what we're doing.
Because you can feel their energy. They're either a fit or they're not. I've been in stores that were empty when I walked in and full when I've left. And I've always had this knee-jerk reaction to send the owner an invoice saying, you're welcome.
Right.
Start charging people. Yeah,
you're welcome for the energy attraction. That's going to be $100 charge right there, sir. We charge extra on the weekends or whatever, all that kind of stuff like that. So, and it's like, it makes sense though. Like I said, now that I've met that one person, it just started making sense. Things started clicking. Now that you're explaining that to me too, it's making more sense now, because it's like, I noticed the same thing, and I don't let it bother me either. It's like, I don't really let it offend me at all. Because at the point I'm thinking is that this one's like, listen, if you weren't supposed to be here, then you would be here. And if you're not, you're not. That's your own loss, not mine.
That person who didn't last for very long could be a number one level forgiveness person on your list. And you forgive their energy around them, because it's different. The energy is really the magic behind this. Let me stretch everybody's brain just a little, because it's already gone off the rails at this point. So I might as well just go for it. I forgave a level one person. Yeah. She was somebody I went to high school with. And I didn't even remember what the problem was. I just didn't. It was decades ago. I thought this will be easy. So I did the process just like I told you guys. And then I forgot about it. And she hadn't reached out to me. I hadn't spoken to this person in decades. 2 hours later, she calls me up on the phone. And I hid my shock, because I am a customer service concierge trainer. I retired from it. Yeah. And so training kicked in virtually immediately, but my jaw was on the floor, and we did the right thing, said the right words. We did what people do, and you haven't talked a long time, but I'm a curious little bear. I couldn't stand it. And they said, why? After all these years, did you call me today of all days? She said, it was the damnedest thing. 2 hours ago, which was exactly when I was saying the mantra, and she's 700 miles away from me, a figurine you gave me in high school fell off the shelf, landed at my feet, and I saw it, and I thought I should give you a call. So if forgiveness, that's a true story.
And it makes sense, though.
If forgiveness energy has the power to move a figurine off a shelf, and it has the power to change the water cells within your body and change the vibrational energy around your body, what do you think your life's going to be like when you hit the higher numbers? See, the law of forgiveness is just like the law of gravity. This thing is going to work whether you believe it or not. The law of gravity will work whether you believe it or not. You can call the law of keeping Pete on the world. Doesn't care. Still going to work. Well, I don't believe in the law of gravity. Doesn't care. Still going to work. So even if you forgive and nothing happens and you don't feel any different, keep doing it anyways, because you're going to feel different. Now, most people feel tired after they do this process. So I really only want you to do 10 people a night. Do it before bed, because your body heals itself when it's sleeping.
Yeah.
And this is a case of do as I say, not as I did. I do my own exercises. I am my own guinea pig. So I did this exercise, and I'm a shocker, a little bit of an overachiever, written 12 books. So shocker. And I wrote down my list. I wrote down, I must have had 40 or 50 people on the list. And I thought, this is going to be great. I'm going to be like a phoenix rising from the ashes. I'm going to be a new person. I'm going to be like a butterfly coming out of the cocoon. I'm going to wake up tomorrow morning and I'm going to be a brand new person. Okay. Didn't work out the way I thought it would. I did forgive many people on the list. I did. But I also spent the next 3 days in bed with what everybody thought was a stomach flu. It was not the stomach flu. Remember those water cells? My body didn't have enough time to transmute all of the decades worth of anger I tried to toss, and it had to get rid of the energy somehow. So if that happens to you, you didn't eat a piece of bad fish. It's just your body trying to get rid of that energy from your body, that anger energy. And a lot of people say their shoulders feel lighter. Some people feel energy move. I feel energy move from my solar plexus, which is in the middle of your stomach, kind of right above your belly button. My older son he legitimately feels his shoulders are lighter, and he gets really tired, like super tired. So that's why you do it before bed, so your body can heal itself.
Yeah, makes sense. So, I mean, like you said, sleep has healing properties, and then a lot of times that's how we heal too. And that's why they say get, XYZ amount of sleep. Some of us don't even do that nowadays, but it makes sense. Like I said, everything makes sense now, and it's starting to make more sense. And it's like, now it's not strange coincidences to me anymore. Now it's like, okay, now it's all starting to add up. Because as you were talking about that, I'm thinking it's all clicking in my head. Like, okay, this is making more sense as we go. And it's great. Like I said, because now I understand more. And it makes a heck of a lot more sense now. And I trust my instincts now more than anything. And stuff like that because of that whole thing. And so far, it hasn't led me anywhere down the road. Like I said, I was at a point when this podcast started, was like, someone had said to me, oh, you should wait. I'm like, no, I got a feeling I got to do this. I'm like, I just got to go for it and see what happens. All right. So less than a week and a half in, already got a network offer from somebody.
It's going to keep climbing. I'm very intuitive.
And it just kept going.
It's going to keep going.
And it did. Okay, so beginning of the year, I opened my calendar up and it just exploded. So like this month alone, after we're done, I have 25 more interviews to do for this month alone. And everybody sends me the same question. They said, oh, don't you get tired of it? No, why? I'm learning something new every day. I'm getting something new, more knowledge. I'm getting to intermediate with new people and get to network more people. And, and these people that come in, we have a great conversation, and why not? It's great. I get to talk to people. One thing I love doing is talking to people, and this is it's so much fun. And they're like, and I've got people as young as like 18 asking me what I'm doing. And this one young man I met, I didn't even realize he knew as much he did about mental health stuff. He was like, oh yeah. He's like, that's something I really want to check out. I'm like, hey, what's it again? He was looking up the page. I was like, I'm like, damn, dude, that's really impressive that he's really that interested. And you would never guess it coming from him. But I just had this sense, like, you know, so I'm going to tell him about it because one of the other guys asked me about it. And then he overheard what I was talking about. He's like, so you got your own podcast? I'm like, yeah. I go, he goes, what do you talk about? I'm like, mental health, you know, stuff like that. We cover a whole broad of different issues that people come on, share their stories. And you know, I always tell everybody that once you start talking and telling your story, someone out there is going to resonate with what you said.
Sure.
And then they're going to come on. And we've had that happen several times. There's been a few people on the show have seen that someone on the show and was like, oh man, now I want to come do it. And other people see how it goes. And I always tell people, if they're really interested in coming on, it's at least watch an episode and see how it goes. I mean, my style is casual because in a casual conversation, you get a heck of a lot more out of people than just drilling people with questions about things.
You do. Those are always my favorite podcasts. And I joke around and say, usually, you know, they ask me one question and then it goes off the rails pretty quick because I've done over 100. And it's because this is so unique. But my favorite ones is the chemistry and the smooth conversational flow and just talking like two old friends, because then people will open up to you even more. And
you know
let's face it, this is a weird system because it's nothing anybody's heard before.
Exactly. No. And it's funny you say that people open up. Okay. So there's a person I had actually this past Monday named Wanda. She suffers from she deals with BPD. And at first she was a little standoffish. And then as she goes, you just see her open up and start peeling those layers back and just start going. And it was so great because I was like, look at you go. And she had the most views of everybody. I had 10 active viewers. And she's the second person on the show to have at least 10 people. And it was another woman named Whitney that came on, and she was just like genuine, completely telling her story. She even got offered a spot while on the show to go talk on a radio show in the UK, which was really cool because I was like, hey, there you go. You can go talk about your story there, empower some of the young ladies there. And I told her, like, go for it, you know? And there was another person I had that's the musician. She was talking to me and all of a sudden revealed that she had BBT as well. And she started talking about it. She almost shared what it was that caused it too. She got close to it and she was like, you know what, may I wait for another time? I'm like, I like it. Come back and talk to me because, you know, and I didn't realize she was so passionate about, you know, the whole subject either because I just reached out to her and people are like, and people ask me all the time, how did you get her to come on? I was like, I just asked her. That's all I did. I had a comment on Instagram. She happened to see it out of 20,000 followers, saw mine, and me and her still talk today. We still exchange messages all the time. And I tell people, like, yeah, I talk to her all the time. She's really cool. She always asks how I'm doing, asks how she's doing, you know, and then I share, you know, different experiences with her and things I'm doing. And she always see all the stuff she's doing. And it's so cool because now, you know, it's like, I am talking to this person. They got like 635,000 downloads in their songs and everything. And they're talking to me just like a regular person. And it's great because it's like it humanizes them. But at the same time, it's like we're just connected because she came on the show and she had a blast and she was so cool. And I was just like, I was so stunned that like she was just so willing to talk about these things. But like I said, the conversational wise works great. And that's what a lot of people say. They love it. They love that. That's how we do. I run the show like that.
You know, you're a lighthouse, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're a lighthouse. It's like being a flashlight. You're a flashlight. And a flashlight, where do we take flashlights? We turn them on when it's dark.
Mm-hmm.
And it's great for the people who are in the dark. It sucks for us because we have to go to these dark places. Right. But you're also a lighthouse, and you're here to guide these ships out from the deep dark into the harbor. And it's exactly what you're supposed to do.
I 100% feel that too. I get a lot of people that come 100%. To me, and a lot of people send them my way too. They're like, "Yeah, have you met my buddy Pete? He does this podcast, and everybody's always talking about it." It's interesting because when I go into some places, they're like, "Oh yeah, look, I was just talking about it, and here you are. You just appeared." And I was like, "Oh yeah, what were you saying about me?" I was telling about how I was on your show. It was a real great time, and it's great because when they come on, they all say the same thing. Well, I'm nervous at first. Yeah, of course we're all nervous. I'm nervous at first too because you don't know how a conversation is going to go. But you know, you kind of go with the best intentions always. You know, and you know, you start getting them going, and when you start hitting certain subject topics, like you do, you just let them go. I'm like, just let them go, because we had somebody in the beginning of the year was the oh shit moment, I call it, because he had talked about how he had suicidal ideations. 30 minutes into the conversation, all of a sudden he just said, "Hey Pete, I want to tell you something." And here we go. He just started sharing about, hey, that morning I had actually thought about killing myself that morning, and I was sitting at the edge of the bed, and it was like, okay, all right, continue. Just keep it coming, man. Just keep it coming. You know, let's hear it, man. Let's go for it. Where I'm here for it. Just keep going. I think a lot of people started texting me, go, is he okay? Yeah, because he got that out. He just wanted to get it out there and let somebody know. Just because he's talking about it doesn't mean that's what he was doing, but at least he talked to us about it, because he could have said nothing to us at all. And that we never heard from him again. But you know what I'm saying? He felt like he was able to talk to me, started sharing it with me. And I was like, this is an oh shit moment, because it was just like, wow, here we go. And
well,
you don't know what to say.
You saved a life. You know, it only, when I tried to commit suicide, my friend Vivian pulled me out. It just takes one person. That's all it takes. And it might just be a comment, you smiling at somebody as they're walking down the street. Maybe that's the first time anybody's ever actually seen them and smiled at them. Maybe you just saved his life because they were on their way to commit suicide. It takes one person, 1 minute, one smile, one conversation.
Exactly. And that's a great point. All right. Well, Catherine, we're going to start wrapping up. Do you want to go ahead and plug your website? I do have all your other stuff listed down in the section of the video. So in case anybody's watching this at a later time, you guys can check out all her stuff and check out the book and things like that. And she does have that other book coming out, and she's got that third one coming too. So get ready. She's got a third one coming. That's going to really blow your minds.
Yeah, it really will, actually. But if you want to learn more about me, private sessions, books, that kind of thing, just go to my website at katharinegiovanni.com. And as you can see in the screen, Katharine spelled a little odd, thanks to my mother. Katharine Giovanni.com. Thanks, Mom. And all my books are available on Amazon. The ebook, paperback, and the audiobook it's all up there for you.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming. I truly enjoyed the conversation. This is great. And I definitely want you to come back when we get ready for these other books to come out, so we can discuss them more and to have another great conversation, just like we just had now. Heck yeah, that's what's up.
Thanks so much for having me.
Well, definitely. Thank you so much for coming again. And guys, you know where to find me. I'm pretty much on everything. TikTok, X, Facebook, all the way down. I'm also on Spotify, all the way down to iHeartRadio, in case you guys prefer to get your podcast that way. And guys, as I always say, it costs nothing, absolutely nothing. Be kind to somebody. One kind act you can do to save somebody's life, or hell, you can make their day. I'm Pete First Anxiety, signing off saying, hey, don't ask how your day is. Ask how your mental health is today.